gonna have a great time doing it. So we're gonna wait for our gauge. I got it where I wanted at 35 psi. Now this may be a little high. Good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Define Jeep. On today's Off-Road 101 course, we're going to be talking about electronics and communication. Now, these courses that I am putting together here was from a meeting, and everything is presented by our club president, Fred Ginsburg. He is the club president of the Desert Wranglers here in Las Vegas, Nevada. He is actually very knowledgeable, very well versed in a lot of our topics here. So today he'll be taking the helm again, and we're going to be talking about electronics, but mostly about communications, two-way radios, whether it be a ham radio, CB radio, GMRS, or anything else of the like. We'll also be talking about when you can use it, how to use it, and of course, etiquette on the air. I hope you find this video educational and entertaining. Let's go ahead and get started.
You know we don't have a potty mouth.
All right, let's talk a little bit about electronics and comms.
Yeah.
So there's essentially three types of radio you could have in your Jeep: ham, CB, or GMRS. Ham, from a technical standpoint, is the best. However, from a practical standpoint, not necessarily. The thing with ham is you have to take an FCC test, and it's not an easy test. You gotta study online and then pass the test. Well, they don't ask quite that much yet, but they still ask a lot of stuff.
They still have basic radio.
Yeah.
It's easy.
It's easy.
Okay, but you have to go through the trouble of taking the test and learning something about the radio. If you have a good ham set in your vehicle, you have a lot of reach, you have a lot of repeaters. You know, if you set it up right, you can talk to 4x4 people down in Australia. It's nice if that is your hobby, or if you're doing a lot of overlanding. For a large group like this, it's impractical because most people are still trying to figure out how to turn their headlights on the trail. Haven't mastered that one yet, so they're not ready for ham. But ham does require being licensed. There are some clubs, I'm not going to mention them by name, that give everybody ham frequencies to use, and they can go and buy these Baofangs online on Amazon for $50. And they're basically on ham frequencies, which is completely illegal.
They license their frequency.
Well, it depends which club.
Yeah.
Vegas Valley is okay.
Yeah.
They do it right, but some of the clubs.
Right.
Well, and you can Google the frequencies, and it'll tell you what, like if you bought a Midland, or so you can match the Midland frequencies. We did both.
Get it.
Set the mouth back.
Shoot it.
Yeah.
The one that got away.
It'll stop us. It's alive.
Yeah.
Just,
So ham is not practical for an organization like ours. And the other thing too is, if you are a club and you do license a ham frequency or a rugged radio frequency, it's only one or two channels.
Yep.
You know, so you might have that one frequency and somebody else has that one frequency and you're stuck. So ham is something to look into if you're technical, if you do a lot of overlanding, but for club runs, this doesn't make sense for us. CB, Citizens Band.
You all grew up watching Burt Reynolds movies. On
Smokey the Bandit.
TV, CB worked so well. People can talk to each other clearly and sing songs, talk about Smokey the Bear and speed traps. If you've tried using CB recently, you get nothing but 80% static, and then the other 20% are asshole truck drivers. Not that all truck drivers are assholes, but the ones that are assholes want to dominate the CB frequencies so nobody else can use them. And they will literally just sit there and sing on the mic, or, put the mic in front of their radio because they think, oh, I can be a bully and keep everybody else off the airwaves.
What a swell guy.
Yeah, we encountered that at Winter 4x4 all the time. Those of you who've done hump and bump have probably encountered the same thing.
Let's find him.
Run them down.
The problem is there's more than one.
It just doesn't work the way it's, advertised, proposed to. So it's not really a viable solution in today's world. The reason that some of the events like Hump and Bump and Winter 4x4 still require CB for those big regional events, it's not that they're Luddites, but CB has 40 channels. And if you've got 20 trail runs a day, say in the Logandale area where everybody's within, a mile of each other, if you were on GMRS, you wouldn't know who was talking. It would just be total confusion. So at least with 40 channels, they can start the day with each group having a different frequency. But then you get those asshole truck drivers and the whole thing is meaningless, and you gotta kind of wave your, whip flag around, to give instructions, kind of like on an aircraft carrier. But that's why some of the events still use CB. Now there is a third option, and that's GMRS.
Yep.
GMRS actually encompasses 3 types of radios. You have FRS radios. Those are the little family walkie-talkies that you can buy at Best Buy. You get like 10 units for $20, something like that.
Yeah, it's super cheap.
The range is like super short,
And they'll go from here to the end of the table.
or at least Walmart.
But FRS are limited to half a watt of power. So that it'll just make it from part of Disneyland to part of Disneyland and not
Yeah,
much
that's
further.
about it, yeah.
So that's why they're so cheap. We don't want to use FRS because you'll make it to one Jeep on either side of you. Not much more than that. You could probably use FRS for spotting, but not much better. Then we have GMRS, which is the popular one. For GMRS, you do need officially to be licensed. A license is simply a mail order deal, $35 for 10 years. Anybody in your immediate household is automatically licensed. People say, well, what if I buy a GMRS and I'm not licensed? Well, all those helicopters you see in the sky filled with black suited commandos will swoop over your Jeep in the middle of Logandale, land, and come out with AR-15s and hold you hostage. The fact is, unless you're using GMRS commercially, meaning you're broadcasting at far more than 5 watts, maybe you're 100 watts or 200 watts, and you're running a bunch of truck drivers and plumbers around, nobody's gonna bother you.
Literally.
On a trail, we know from experience that a 5-watt GMRS radio barely makes it from leader to tail gunner. And that's why the mid gunners will repeat or echo instructions. The FCC doesn't care about the 5-watt units out there. I mean, they only have literally like 4 investigators in the entire country. Literally busting people, and the only ones that they bust are, again, like, big commercial operations broadcasting at hundreds of watts instead of the true limit. and those are the people they go after. But if you wanna be legal, $35, mail your check to Uncle Sam, or to one of the Bidens, either one.
We do accept money back.
But anyway,
I'd rather give it to Sam.
$35, it's good for 10 years, fine for the whole family. Licensing not an issue. As you say, you're supposed to give your call sign every time you use the radio.
I don't even know my call
I don't
sign.
know. All the times I've ever been out, I've never heard anybody do a call sign.
Not once.
I've heard it twice.
I've heard it on the
Couple
repeaters,
times.
that's
The
about it.
well, the
Yeah.
repeaters are different,
Yeah.
because those are high-powered units.
You're out there.
But on a trail run.
I don't remember even what mine is.
Now, something to understand about GMRS channels a little bit. So somebody says, why do you pick, say, channel 16 or 17? Okay, channels 1 through 7. Well, first we'll start with the FRS frequencies. Those are 8 through 14. Do not use 8 through 14. Cross those off your list. Because when you are broadcasting on 8 to 14, your radio is limited to half a watt of power, so that you don't interfere with the people at Disneyland. We don't want parents getting separated from their kids. So half a watt is all you can legally use 8 to 14. 1 through 7, you can go up to 5 watts. So the radios you tend to buy online are 5 watt. 5 watt is the max for your little handhelds. If you had a base station mounted in your Jeep, you could go as powerful as 50 watts. But, so 1 through 7, you're limited to 5 watt. 15 to 22, which is where the repeaters are at, you can go up to 50 watt. You don't have to use 50 watt. You could be 10 watt, 25 watt, 15 watt, or 5 watt. So since some of the people have the 15 watt or 20 watt units in their Jeeps, the trail leaders generally use channels 15 through 22. But if nobody's got anything bigger than a 5 watt radio, you have a choice. It could be 15 to 22 or 1 through 7. Again, it's only the 8 through 14 that you don't want to mess with, because they're too limited in range. The other thing that GMRS has is what they call PL tones, or private listening tones. These have to be programmed into your radio. There's computer programs that can do it, or very convoluted instruction books with 55 steps. And again, this is not something who hasn't figured out how to turn their headlights on yet should be doing. But if you really wanted to do it, you could program your radios with these custom codes. And what they call them privacy codes, but they're not privacy codes. Anybody can hear you transmit with or without the codes.
Yep.
So it's not secret. What it means is that your radio will only hear stuff that has the PL tone. So you won't get chatter from anybody who's not broadcasting that PL tone. So that's what repeaters tend to use, so that they can control who uses their repeater. So sometimes you'll be in a situation where you're talking on the radio and nobody can hear you, but you hear them say, "Did you say something? Did you say something? I can't hear you." Yeah, it's me. I don't hear anything. Chances are they have a PL button engaged at their end. So the PL prevents what you can hear, not who can hear you. Again, to keep things nice and simple, we don't mess with PLs, because people are still trying to figure out how to just change channels on their Midlands, let alone how to program a PL. If we had PL tones in this club, nobody would be able to talk to anybody. So for those of you
Fred,
who
I just
haven't-
wanna make a comment
Yeah,
about
no.
the GMRSs.
Yeah.
I don't know who in the Wrangler Jeep Club posted this, but there was a great step-by-step, exactly what you had to do online and where to go. And, I just did it all online, paid everything online just this last week. So whoever did that, thank you, cause it was extremely helpful.
Thank
Cause that
you.
website is very confusing.
Yeah.
So, thank you, whoever did that. So yeah, I just did it and I was able to, I didn't mail anything in, I was able to just do it all online. They sent me my copies, I keep one in the Jeep and one at home, but,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, it's an easy process, and if you didn't see that article on their Facebook group,
Yeah.
if you just Google how to get GMRS license, all the big radio companies put that on their website. You go to Midland's website, or CB something website. Pretty much, every big company that sells radios has that
Being monitored.
somewhere.
Well,
on their
whoever did in the
site.
club, it was extremely helpful. I appreciate
So
it.
this little unit is very
No,
popular in the
FCC.
club. Most of the people we find have either Midlands or
You
Balfangs.
should,
The Balfangs are not as well built as Midlands, but they're so cheap, if it breaks, you just throw it away and grab the other one from your
I got a group
stash.
of 20 people. If I get stopped, everybody
If
is my
you
cousin.
watch Amazon closely, they'll often have these suckers
I
on
got my
sale
license, I'll come
for $30 to $35 each. Sometimes they'll sell them in 2-packs. I try to keep an eye open for the 4-packs, because sometimes you can get 4 of them for like $100. But they're decent radios, they're crisp, clear, they work on our trail runs. And another company that I also found on Amazon makes a nice little speaker mic that plugs into your Balfang, and it'll say, works with the Balfang or works with Midland. And this is nice, because this way you can have this mounted on your dashboard somewhere, if you have like a bullet point mounting unit, or you can buy little $20 mounting kits all over the internet. And then this you can keep on your seatbelt, or keep handy, or give it to your co-driver. This has a speaker as well as a push-to-talk button. When you use your radio, always keep it on push-to-talk. Do not use Vox or voice activated, because then your radio will be on nonstop and everybody will hate you.
And we'll hear all the personal stuff you're talking about.
Out in the middle of nowhere, you don't want everybody to hate you. As they say, 20 Jeeps head out and 8 come back. But these come in really handy. If you're just beginning with us, every one of the trail leaders and even some of the non-trail leaders usually have a few extras in their Jeep. So we're always happy to loan you a radio. However, do not be shocked if when they hand you a radio, they want something in return.
Firstborn male child.
Basically, they will ask you to prove a driver's license or a major credit card. And the reason for that is people sometimes drive off with our radios. That
And they get
becomes a hassle
expensive.
for people loaning you radios. So when you leave a hostage, you tend to remember to return the borrowed radio. So that is very common on our trail runs. That's a practice that, Hollywood's been doing for 40 years on film sets, because they have expensive walkie-talkies, not $35, $1,000 radios. And people tend to walk off with them.
It's like bowling, one with the left shoe.
Yeah.
Which was good.
Fred,
Yes.
as a newbie, I will tell you that we got the bow thing, couldn't figure out how to, program the thing. Even with YouTube and everything, we were like, fine, we sent it back.
No, I finally figured it out. I think we did the same.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, the thing on the Balfang is, did you order a Balfang GMRS?
Yes.
Okay, because they also have a unit called the UV8 and 9R. That's Robert.
Yeah, that's
And those are modified ham radios. Those have to be individually programmed.
Yeah.
Now, isn't I also heard those have a frequency for emergencies.
Then we must have ordered the wrong one.
Right?
But, no, these have weather frequencies.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's what we kept getting into, that we
They have
couldn't
no-
get out of it. It was,
But these, you simply select channel 1 through 22,
Yeah.
and that's basically
we
it.
must have ordered the wrong one then.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to program them at all. It's literally the whole purpose is you just channel 1, channel 2, no.
Yeah, I have the Baofeng and it is the standard 22, but it also has a weather channel button.
NOAA.
Has the
You
NOAA.
engage the weather channel button and cut out.
Yeah, once you get the weather channel, we couldn't get back, and we're like, we were out on the 13-mile loop, and I was like, so Rooster kinda had extras.
No, she's not here today.
Sarah.
Well, maybe what we'll do is at one of our club meetings, we'll just make it radio day and everybody can bring their radios to the meeting. Somebody can go around.
So nobody there had one. Everybody had the Midlands, and so I thought you were gonna say, everybody just get the Midlands. Is that what you are?
No, I found it was about half-half.
Oh, okay.
Half the people have the Baofangs, but with the Baofang, you gotta make sure you're ordering the GMRS Baofang.
You thought we did.
Because
The
Baofang has a thing they
UV5Gs.
call dual frequency, which is their fancy way of saying illegal is shit, but in China, we don't care.
They sell the Midlands at Bass Road.
There's some at Walmart too. Yeah, the GXT 1000, yes they
No,
do.
but I was desperate because I only bought that wrong one, and I was like, oh my God. So you need a radio, we need a radio. So I went to midnight, I bought that, you went to.
Okay, everybody. All right. So anyway, back to the Baofangs. Some of the Baofangs are just straight GMRSs, and some of them are what they call dual frequency. So if it says R and not G or X, those are basically illegal hams. And it's what?
No, legal hams, illegal GMRS.
Yes. But if you don't have a ham license,
Well, you can listen all you want,
yes, you can listen all you want, but to transmit is from.
but you can't use a ham radio on GMRS.
Gotta catch me
But
first.
you can use it the other way, but once
The
you do,
helicopter
you're type
certificate.
certificate.
Yeah. But those are the ones that get tricky, because on those, you don't just have channels 1 through 22, you have to put the frequency of each channel in manually. And some of them, again, will hear on those frequencies, but will not transmit in those frequencies, because they're not licensed for GMRS. So you just wanna make sure you get the right radios that say GMRS specifically.
What if they say both, FRS and GMRS?
Technically they
Okay,
are.
all GMRSs include the FRS. As I said, FRS are the little baby radios, the little family radios. And those encompass channels 8 through 14 of the GMRS bands. So your GMRS radio will talk to and hear FRS radios. FRS will only hear 8 through 14 of our frequencies. But when you are on 8 through 14, if your radio is FCC approved, it will only transmit at half a watt. Very weak setting. On the other channels, 1 through 7 and 15 through 22, it'll give you your full 5 watts if it's a handheld, or up to 50 watts if it's a base station on the higher frequencies. Even the base stations are only allowed to do 5 watt on 1 through 7. So those radios are pre-programmed from the factory to basically put a stop at 5 watts on the lower channels, half a watt.
They don't
on
have the
middle channels.
FRS channels. Mounted radios, it's illegal to have those 8 through 14, so they don't even exist.
Yeah, unless they have the special circuitry to do that. But one way or the other, they're limited to half a watt on 8 through 14. Yeah, the real good base stations can do it, but
Yep.
most of them don't.
If you get the Midland MXT 500, 8 through 14 don't exist.
Yeah.
They're just not there, and you can use them as memory channels for something else, like PL tones.
Yeah, that would make sense. Okay, so things about radio etiquette, just using them in general. The people that are normally talking on your radios are going to be the trail leader, the tail gunner, and the mid gunner. But it's important for those three people to have open channels back and forth. The mid and the tail are telling the trail leader where everybody is, if we're all spread out, or if we're together as a group, or if some Jeep is having an issue, or whatever. So those people have priority in talking on the radios. Now, sometimes in the middle of a run, you know, things are just kind of boring, and your trail leaders may have, say, a trivia game, or tell you dirty jokes, stuff like that. And in those situations, it's okay to respond on your radio, but just keep your answers short. Don't get too long-winded, because sometimes, again, your three gunners need to communicate trail stuff back and forth. So don't use your radios just for nonchalant conversation, discussing the movie you saw last night on Netflix, whether somebody else.
I didn't see that show.
watched it.
Fun, Fred.
What? Yeah. The other thing about our radios is every now and then somebody will try to show off and use a 10 code or a CB thing that they saw Burt Reynolds do in some movie. But generally on GMRS we just speak, you know, straightforward cowboy English. You know, if you want to, you can say, "Go for Fred, Roger, Roger, Dodger," you know, "over out," you know, shit like that. But you don't need to. Normally, you know, we just speak normally. We don't bother with all the fancy CB slang. You know, think that if you have a CB and you have the asshole trucker on the other side, you guys.
Copy that.
Also, if you're familiar with 10 codes, we don't use 10 codes.
That's what he said on there.
Yeah, we will say copy that, meaning that you've heard it loud and clear. And something that will happen on trails a lot is if somebody gives an instruction, the other tail or mid gunners will repeat that same instruction. And we do that because sometimes the leader may be behind, you know, a mountain or a stone, and his transmission may not make it all the way to the tail, especially if we have 20, 25 Jeeps like we got tomorrow. You know, for that, you know, we gotta bring towers and feeders.
Smoke signal.
Yeah. So if you hear a command, you know, turn left at the fire hydrant, you'll repeat it so that people behind you or closer to you will hear it, because again, sometimes we're limited in range.
Roger that.
Just in case.
Over under.
Something that our Jeep does, our club does, which is unique, don't know why other clubs don't do it. When you leave the air down, or sometimes at another spot, you will be assigned a Jeep number. Especially when we have a big caravan of 20 Jeeps.
I think that's an
15
FRS.
Jeeps.
That's what
Very useful.
It's gotta say
And
GMRS.
what you wanted, the importance of the number is one, so you know what order to be in. And sometimes we won't give out the numbers until you air down, because when we leave the gas station and get to the air down spot, everybody's out of order. But once you're given a number, that's basically your caravan number. And if you're just answering trivia or telling a joke or something, you don't have to identify yourself by Jeep number. But if it's a serious issue, it's nice to sit there and say, "This is Jeep 7. Did you say go to the left or the right of the hole?" Yeah. Or, you know, we just passed, you know, something on the road. You know, we gotta stop and check it out or something. But by using your Jeep number, we know whether you're in the front of the pack, the rear of the pack, the middle of the pack. It just helps the leaders and the gunners have an idea where you are in the progression. Because nobody remembers first names.
Yeah, you
This
come
is
up and say,
Steve.
you know, I'm stuck. Okay, I'm the white Jeep. Okay.
That's a pretty racy Jeep right there. You're a white Jeep.
Jeeps, you're stuck, and we have no idea where you're at. And that's why the numbers really come in.
20 of them.
Yeah, exactly. And so the numbers really pinpoint basically where you're at, so we know who can attend to it faster.
Yeah, whether the mid gunner is closer to you, the
Tail.
leader or the tail. So it's good to use your numbers. We avoid profanity and dirty jokes on the radios, because a lot of people do bring their kids, and some of our dogs speak English, and and the other thing is, we say, don't use the radio just to gab. But if you have something worth saying, by all means, say it. We're not censoring anybody, preventing you from speaking. And especially if there's any kind of an issue, maybe all that bouncing has shaken things up in your kidneys, and you need what we call a bio break. So just get on the horn and say it. Or sometimes, you'll spill some food in the seat, or things will come unloose in the back and be rattling back and forth. Whatever the reason is, it doesn't matter. Just say, hey, can you guys stop for, a minute or two? I need to reset some cargo. Or, we want to swap out driver and passenger, or whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. We're not in a race. We're all out there to have fun. So use your radios to communicate. Very important. Help on the trails. Obviously, there's no cell service out there. You might have little patches of cell service, but nothing reliable. So hikers know about PLBs, what we call personal locator beacons. And those are basically the little things that, hikers and down pilots have, so that the helicopters overhead can find them quickly. But for the rest of us civilians, we're now getting into satellite phones and satellite communicators. Garmin makes two of the most popular units. They have what they call the InReach Mini. It's actually now the InReach Mini 2. So if you're going to buy it, don't save $100 by getting the one. Spend the extra money, get the two, because the two has a few more important features. They also have a nice little unit called the Garmin Messenger. The Messenger is fine if you're using your satellite device in a vehicle. It's not a self-contained unit, it doesn't have a big display, but the idea is it uses the Garmin with your cell phone. So it Bluetooths to your cell phone is how you type and receive text messages, and this just relays it to a satellite. But either device is good. The Garmin Mini up there is nice because it's got a built-in display, and that's very popular amongst hikers because you can just stick it on their backpack. Yes?
Don't they have a monthly subscription?
Yes.
And that's $70 a month or
No.
something?
No, $12
More like 70 a year.
$11.99 for the very bottom
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
InReach
12.
and Messenger, it's $12 a month.
But you can turn it on and off.
They do have a plan, but it's more expensive to turn it on and off.
If you're only seasonal like a hiker, it pays to turn it on and off, but if you're using it for off-road, you're gonna want it all year long, because
You can go out.
it's not like you can use it Saturday and Sunday and then turn it off Monday through Thursday. It's a lot of hassle to do that. Yeah.
I brought my Zolio, if you guys have never seen one of these.
Oh, thank you.
The only difference is that it's the same thing, it's Bluetooth to your cell phone. But it does one other thing that's really useful. It takes waypoints. So when you send the SOS, it doesn't just send where you are, it sends the last 10 places you were. So it actually, you can, I use Onyx. And you can tell it, I want so much distance between them, and it'll actually make waypoints. But it's the same thing, it's $20 a month, costs $199, Amazon.
Yeah, the Messenger that I got, it was under 300. I actually caught it on sale for about $270 on Amazon. The InReach Minis are about $100 more, but again, sometimes you see those discounted from $399 to maybe $350.
Within reason, we'll drop points too if you'd like them as well. You can drop to a map, people can check online and check exactly where you are, but it all depends on what you want it to do.
The main thing about all of these devices is you're out in the middle of nowhere, something major breaks in your vehicle, you need to call for help. There's two kinds of help you can call. You can press the SOS button, such as what comes on the new iPhone 14s, and the SOS will bring in the helicopter team. It will bring in the paramedics. That is great if you're having a heart attack or bleeding to death. But otherwise, expect a $10,000 rescue bill to arrive in your mailbox. And depending on your personal insurance, they might pay $5 or $10 worth of it. So if you didn't die from a heart attack on the trail, you will die from a heart attack when you see the bill. So that is for serious, serious shit. That's the only time you use the SOS. So the SOS on the iPhone, yeah, it'll get out there, but it goes to the international rescue something or another. And yes, they'll get the paramedics out to you, but you know, it better be life or death, because they're gonna charge you an arm and a leg.
Like the Garmin, it has a setup. They have a setup so that you can also just text somebody, and that you know they can come get you or come help you. And it's two-way. So is the Garmin, so is this one.
Yeah, so the other option is, with these devices, you're allowed, depending on the plan you're in, like 10 text messages per month to any friends or family. And you're also allowed unlimited, what they call check-in messages, just to say,
yep,
we're on the trail, we're home from the trail, we're staying overnight. Those very simple messages, they don't count. But if you wanted to type out a message on your cell phone, like, here are my coordinates, you know, get me a tow truck, you know, get somebody with a flatbed to come get me, you're allowed 10 of those. But if you use more than 10, they start at like 50 cents a message.
Yeah,
So when your Jeep breaks down, like, you're really counting 50 cents or $1 for the message.
And the messages sent all come with GPS coordinates.
Yeah, they do. In fact, if someone would like to see one afterwards, I can show you a message I sent myself.
It gives you the location of whoever receives the text.
So those are good to have, and usually on all of the trail runs we do, there's at least one person in the run who has satellite capability, so everybody doesn't have to have satellite. Everybody does need to have a radio, but for SAT, as long as there's one person in the group who's got comms, all is good.
Will that also connect to your device to keep track as the GPS, so you can like be using Onyx or what have you on like a tablet that didn't have that?
No, but you don't need it, because your Onyx will keep track of your entire route and give you breadcrumbs. So the Onyx will do everything navigation-wise that you need, or your Gaia. This is basically, you know, in case of an emergency.
You can set it up to drop breadcrumbs along the trail. One of my co-leaders, he uses it religiously to drop breadcrumbs, and his daughter can go on there and check online where he's at and stuff like that. But
and that's the same thing I was referring to too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they do it. It's just, you know, if you want to pay for it or not.
Yeah.
But you've got your guy or your Onyx is doing the exact same thing.
They all will, I'm just saying. That's the point.
Yeah.
And it's prettier.
Now, something everybody should be familiar with is who to call.
Ghostbusters.
Okay, in Southern Nevada, the group that gets you out of trouble is called SNOR, Southern Nevada Off-Road Recovery. It is a volunteer organization. They do not charge for their services, although people are encouraged to make a nice donation after they pluck your vehicle out of nowhere. But technically, they don't charge anything. So you can go online to their website and read instructions on, you know, how to contact them. But one thing you do need to know is they are Luddites. And as Luddites, they don't believe in text messages, which unfortunately Garmin does believe in. So we have a problem. Your Garmin wants to send a text message to call for help, but they don't receive text messages. So you need an intermediary. So you need somebody in your friends list that you can instruct, when I send you a text message with my coordinates, please go ahead and call SNOR and tell them to come get me. With Snore, you can post to their Facebook group, or you can call them, but they don't do text.
If you call them, it's faster.
I'm sorry?
If you call them, it's faster, because there's about 10 of them who are on standby, who answer the call faster than Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely call.
No, but if-
Whoever your
you said
contact
GMRS,
is.
Yeah, if I'm on Reddit, I'm calling them, I'm not gonna,
All these
I'm
things.
gonna go FaceTime.
Just, you know, you can put in there, so you can put button once and send it like a text.
I'll start.
You tell your friends to call if you ever get one of these.
You're right.
Yes, so give your friends an instruction sheet with what to do if you get an emergency message from you while out on the trail. That's the only downside to Snore, that they don't do text. But these are your go-to people. They will get your Jeep out of the biggest messes, and they'll get you at least to a major highway where AAA can take over and flatbed you know, to the dealership or to a mechanic. And we're talking a little bit about GPS navigation, which is separate than satellite comms. The two most popular programs that everybody seems to be using is either Onyx or Gaia. Both of them work pretty similarly. You install them on your cell phone. Your cell phone does receive GPS satellite coordinates. It does talk to the GPS satellite. What it doesn't do is download the terrain or the pictures of where you're at. So the instructions for both programs is before you head out on an adventure, you basically look at the area you're going to be in and have it download the Google Maps for that section. And then the program will read your GPS coordinates and superimpose your little car icon literally over the trails. And the trails are satellite image, so you can actually see hills, valleys, bumps, rivers, dirt trails, big trails. But you do not need cell service for that to function.
Right, that's right.
On our website at desertwranglers.club, we have a nice tutorial on how to use Onyx. It's like a 19-page thing. You can also go online and watch a lot of videos. People say, what's the difference between Gaia and Onyx? Very, very similar. Gaia is a better program if you are designing the route. If you're an overlander, you're an adventurer, you're trying to figure out your way through the desert, through the woods, Gaia will give you a whole lot more information. They'll give you information from 20 different map sources. That's really good if you know what you're doing. If you're just like us, and you're just going to run a simple trail and you just want to load a trail file, which is called a GPX file, or take one out of a library, Onyx is simpler to use. And for most of the stuff we do, everybody likes Onyx. But again, pick and choose depending on how sophisticated you want to get with your map making or mapping needs.
There's no right, no wrong. Preference is all it is.
For the trail runs that we run, you could use either. But the nice thing is, it shows up on your phone, stick your phone up on your dash, it always knows where you are. That's the problem with a paper map. You don't know where you are. You see all these lines on the map, but it's no good unless you know, I am here and I want to get there. But with Onyx, Gaia, it tells you where you're at, and then you can figure out how to get to where you're going. Yeah.
I don't know about Gaia, but Onyx is also CarPlay. So you
Gaia
hit
is
the button,
too.
it shows
So
right
is
up on
Gaia.
your Jeep's.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Jeep,
I have no problem.
unfortunately,
Never had it.
never quite figured out CarPlay properly, and it glitches like mad.
I'm lucky.
So sometimes it'll work for you, and sometimes it'll go haywire. That just seems to be a Jeep thing. They haven't quite gotten that one down pat yet. But Onyx, you can get for $20 a year We actually have a Desert Wranglers discount of 20%. And every now and then, Onyx will offer all Jeepers a 30% discount. But even at the 20% discount, $20 a year to know where you're at all the time is fantastic. I mean, I've been on trail runs and listened to Keith go, I think we turn left here, and everybody's going, no, that's not it, Keith. You go to the next little lift and then turn.
And I'm running Gaia too. I just don't follow it.
You know, every now and then we'll do a workshop on Onyx. We've had one in the past. Cool. And if people want to, we can do more of them. I mean, we could spend all 3 hours just talking about navigation. Just move on. All right, so you got your tires deflated, and you bought all your junk. You know, here's some notes about actually being on the trail.
Good stuff.
So you listen to your trail leader. They're basically going to tell you what's coming up, what obstacles, where to turn. And what you want to do if you're a beginner is look at the Jeep in front of you and see where they put their tires, taking an obstacle, going up a hill, going around something, and basically just follow in their tire tracks. Again, we can do that because we all drive the same thing, Wranglers. If we had a mix of vehicles, that wouldn't work. But if another Wrangler was able to do it, you can do it. So basically follow the lines of others. In terms of pacing, only go as fast as you feel comfy. It's not a race. If you want to take it a little slower, you slow down, everybody else will accommodate you. If for some reason the trail leader doesn't accommodate you, I'm pointing to the person next to you, not.
Oh, of course not.
Larry.
I always accommodate.
Larry, yeah.
Yes, if Larry zooms off in a hurry, then that's why you have a radio. You go, Larry, slow down. It takes us a little bit longer to get through this little rock garden. Because what happens is you got 20 Jeeps, the first Jeep gets through the rock garden, tippy-toe, 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 zoom. But now you got 20 Jeeps that still have to tippy-toe through the rock garden, and people start getting spread out. So that's what the mids are supposed to do. In the tail, they're supposed to say, leader, slow down, we're getting too spaced out. But if they don't do it, you got a radio, you do it.
Yeah, use the radio, because when I lead, I usually keep track of the 3 or 4 Jeeps behind me. If I see them, I keep going, but that doesn't tell me what the gap is after the 4th Jeep. So yeah, definitely communicate.
And some people will drive faster than others, you know, as they get used to it. My wife drives a lot. You know, she loves to drive, but she is slow. I mean, I have to keep saying, you can go a little faster now. There's no more rocks to tippy-toe through. Catch up, catch up. But the point is, you go at your own pace. Don't feel pressured or intimidated. Just do what's comfortable. Everybody else will drink. When you're driving, keep an eye on the Jeep behind you. Make sure the Jeep behind you knows where you turn. So especially if you're at a turning point, stop, wait till they catch up. If the Jeep ahead of you gets too far away, that's what the radio is for. Ask them to slow down. If you have trouble clearing an obstacle, you're a little nervous about it, just ask. Somebody ahead of you or behind you will stop, get out, and coach you through it. They'll show you where to put your tires on this particular rock or through this crevice or notch. Do not be afraid to ask for coaching, because until you've done it a lot, everybody needs help. Never drive off on your own. You see an interesting little side trail, you do not leave the caravan. Once you're on a trail group, you stay with the trail group until we are done. You don't detour unless the trail leader specifically says, if you don't want to climb this rock, take the dirt road on the side. But they'll only do that if it's a short little bypass. If it's a long bypass, They'll tell you, wait there until the tail gunner can escort you, or a mid gunner can escort you. Because we don't want anybody going off alone anything more than 20 or 30 feet.
Yeah.
And sometimes Keith has been known to get out of his Jeep and run after you.
Yo! And then fall down.
Yes, they
Then trip on the way.
Yeah, I'm on a roll. Last 3, none, so.
Oh, you're gonna fall tomorrow.
Just jinx
I
yourself.
You know your terms again. The trail leader is in front. They're basically figuring out the route. The tail gunner is the caboose, and usually the tail gunner is second in command. And then you have the mid gunners in the middle, and the tail and the mids are reporting to the leader how spread out the group is, if anybody's got problems, if anybody had to stop for whatever reason. If you don't hear the mid gunner or the tail gunner say something, then you are now deputized as an unofficial mid gunner. Get on the damn radio and say, Keith, slow down. I don't see any Jeeps on either side of me. Yeah, anybody can act as a gunner, you know, should the need arise. When we did winter 4x4, we had great trail leaders and basically non-existent gunners. So a few of us just automatically took over as gunners, you know, and kept telling the leader, hey, slow down, let the group catch up, or whatever the situation is. Oh, drinks?
Yeah.
Downstairs in customer lounge. There might be water fountains down here. Otherwise-
Doesn't work. The water fountain, I turned it on, and it was like.
Okay, as we mentioned before, your gunner will repeat and echo any radio instructions so that everybody can hear. And also, it's good that either the mid or the tail or both be running the GPX file on their navigation system, because sometimes the trail, you know, the runs will get split up. If you have 20, 25 Jeeps, where something could happen, or they might have to escort somebody home or bypass obstacles. So you want at least 2 people in the trail to be familiar with the route. So if you are a gunner, usually you contact the trail leader ahead of time and they'll email you the file of the route or give it to you on site or something, so that a couple people can monitor what's going on. Onyx is pretty good. They have most of our trails already loaded in the system. Not necessarily the exact trail we're taking, because trails vary because of the weather, but most of it will show up in a green line or a blue line. So you have some idea of where you're at.
Do you prefer one over the other? Gaia, Onyx?
It's personal choice. I like Onyx. I believe keep it simple, stupid. Onyx does what I need it to do. I am not about drawing my own trails from scratch, figuring out what's private property, what's not, what's government property. Somebody like Mojave guy, Bill Englehart, he likes Gaia because they're plotting routes through the Mojave.
Yes.
Yep, we plot our routes.
They're
yeah.
creating their own trails. Me, I'm just copycatting whatever Larry tells me. So as long as I can load it in my phone, I'm good. I think if you're starting from scratch, Onyx is much simpler and faster to learn. But if you're really into mapping or you do hunting or hiking, then Gaia has some advantages.
Alrighty, that was a lot of great information, a lot of great feedback and questions of course, of everybody that was involved and interested in learning what's going on there. We really hope you enjoyed today's video. We loved having you with us. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and click that little bell. And please join us or subscribe to us on all of our social platforms. And of course, coming soon is www.defiantjeep.com. And don't forget to join us on desertwranglers.club. We'd love to see you on the trail.